Hi and welcome to Today with Adeyinka. Today we are looking at real estate investment in Nigeria, and this particular episode is sponsored by Red Brick Homes International Limited. They are the developers of Emenesi Phase 1 and Phase 2 at the Bejuleki area of Lagos State, Nigeria. So today we are looking at real estate investment, and it's going to be a very long episode, but it's going to be published in parts. But to the layman term, when we say real estate investment, when we say real estate, what do we mean? Looking at the phrase real, it means something physical. But if you combine it, real estate is involving property consisting of land and building. But I want to dwell more on the real. That means you can feel it, you can see it. It's something physical. So we'll be talking about, while investing, or when you're about to invest into real estate, the things to watch out for as regards the title, as regards the location, as regards the return on investment. So first, I will be listing out several titles and just a brief summary of what it means. So before investing into real estate, there are several things you need to consider. You are going to consider the title, you're going to consider the location, and you're going to consider the return on investment. So now let's look at titles and several titles that is obtainable in, let me say, Lagos, Nigeria, presently. So we are looking at excision, we are looking at gazette, we are looking at CFO, that we all know as certificate of occupancy. We are looking at governor's consent, and we're also looking at court judgments. Court judgment is actually a title that is not common to all, that a lot of us, majority of us, don't know that it's actually a title. But again, looking at these several titles, the title also determines the price. Same with the location. But if we are looking at the title, I'll just give a brief summary of what it means. Now, when you say excision, what does it mean? You know, before the 1979 Land Use Act, introduced by former President Olusegun Obasanjo, all lands belong to, the traditional rulers, as we may call them, as the Omonile. But after that Land Use Act that says all lands belong to government, that means before you can claim 100% ownership of a particular piece of property or a land, the government must give you that permission. So what it means invariably when you say excision is, number one, you file for excision from the government, which means invariably excising a part of a whole. So you are saying that you excise this part from the major. That is in a layman term. If I don't want to really go into the details, that is what excision means. It's the first phase. And the things government consider before they give this excision is, number one, they consider if that particular property you are filing excision for is not committed, what a whole lot of us know as acquisition, either committed acquisition or is not committed. What that means is government might actually have need for that piece. And again, it's also in the law, this same Land Use Act, that for government saying they are not going to give you this particular land, or they are not going to excise it for you because they have plans, that plan must not be selfish. It must be for public interest. Maybe they want to do hospital, maybe they want to do school, maybe they want to do airport, something that is common, that is a common interest. So for example, if you file for excision, the government cannot say, oh, we want to give this land is allocated to one commissioner, we can't give it to you. They must state reasons they can't give it to you, and that reason must not be selfish. That is for excision. So now there's a thin line between excision and gazette. Gazette is just actually the process of publishing the excision that the government has given you into a record book. That is when you say, oh, it's gazetted. Then again, when we are looking at certificate of occupancy, is also a title that a whole lot of people want to hear. But the truth is, it's not really a big deal when you say you have CFO. CFO is periodic. It has a time span of 99 years. It means if you have a CFO, and if later in the future, the government has need for that land. Because you have a CFO, government will compensate you. Taking the land from you is a must. Even if they give you CFO, they can still come and take the land if it's for public interest. But if you have a CFO, the government will not only take the land, they will compensate you with the current value of that land. Now, that current value, I don't know what determines it. It could be you, it could be them, it could be the bank. But when you have a certificate of occupancy that we all know as CFO, the government will compensate you if, peradventure, they get the land from you. Then again, we have a governor's consent. And what governor's consent means is, if a CFO has been given in, let's say a CFO was given for, let's say, 200 plots, and Adeyinka decides to buy one plot from that 200 plots. What I can get at that point, because CFO has been given, the government won't be able to give me CFO again because they've given it in bulk for the 200 plots. What the government will give me now, by then, is governor's consent. So again, the last one that I said, court judgment, which a lot of people don't know that it's actually a title as well. So take, for instance, if I have a property and I have CFO, or probably I have Gazette or whatever, and you as our viewers, let's say Mr. X, has a property again, that same property, and there's a contention on that particular plot. Then the next thing we do is we approach the courts to decide who the owner is. At the end of the case, whatever the judgment is becomes the title of that land. That is court judgment. But in most cases these days, when we real estate consultants tell clients that, okay, come and buy this piece of land, the title on it is court judgment, the only thing that comes to mind is, problem what really, there's problem on that land. But it's not so. I'm doing this to enlighten a lot of our clients out there, both present clients and prospective clients out there, that these are the things, these are the titles that you should look at if you want to invest. Now, I also said in my intro that the title also determines the price. You can't compare a property that has a CFO and a property that has an excision, or a property that has Gazette. Because over the period, I've had clients call me and say, Adeyinka, I want to invest and I want the land to have CFO. Okay, what is your budget? You hear things like 700,000, 1 million, 1.5. But again, I'm here to tell you, just to give you the rudimentary knowledge, that you have to cut your coat according to your size. And land has several procedures and several grades. You know, I said we'll be looking at the title, we'll be looking at the location and the return on investment. We are just now still dealing with the title. So if you have 700,000, for example, I'm going to make Ibejuleki a case study because that's where I base, and most of my real estate investment, most of my real estate activity is based here in Ibejuleki. And as you agree with me, Ibejuleki is the main thing in Lagos, maybe even Nigeria as we speak. So the thing is, using Ibejuleki as a case study, if you have 700,000, even if you have 1 million, even if you have 1.5, the property within that range that you can get, I'm talking to you now as a real estate consultant, the property you can get within that range is not even excision file number. And what that means is that this property has filed for excision. This property is filing for excision, is still in the process of getting excision. And I had explained excision earlier. So that's when you say it has excision file number. So if your budget is within 700,000 to 1.5 million, the property you should be looking for is properties that has excision file number. And bear in mind, excision file number is not a title. It's just on the way to getting that excision. And again, also bear in mind that Rome was not built in a day. For every property today that has CFO, that has governor's consent, they all started from excision file number. So your budget will keep you in the waiting game, because you don't have up to the amount that can afford the one that has governor's consent, the one that has CFO, the one that has court judgment. You're going to stay within that range. That means you're going to buy and wait. You can't say you want to buy a property of 1.5 million and you're expecting that property to have a CFO or to have a governance consent. But if you have between 2 million to, let's say, 5 to like 6 million, now I'm talking based on Ibejuleki, which is my area of expertise. Now, if you're looking at between 2 million to 5 million, then you are talking excision or gazette. That is what that amount of money, that bracket, 2 million to 5 million, that is what you can get. Now, if you're looking at 5 million and above, then we are talking about CFO, we are talking about governor's consent. So it's better we have all these things at the back of our mind so that you don't appear disappointed when you call your realtor or when you approach a real estate firm and you say, okay, I want to buy a property and this is what I have, and they tell you this is what you can get. That is defining your budget with the title that suits your budget. Once again, this episode is sponsored by Red Brick Homes International Limited. They are the developers of Amen Estate Phase 1 and Amen Estate Phase 2 at Eleko Beach Road, Ibejuleki, Lagos State, Nigeria.